All right, welcome to Radicards TV on radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Reno, and today I have my buddy Dan G, longtime friend. We used to video chat together, um, I guess between 2015 and 2020. Really good friend, best friend of mine, actually. One of my favorite guys I know in my life. Really good friend. So, Dan, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. How's everybody?
It's so good to have you on board. It's been so long, man. We haven't
I know
chatted in a while,
it's been a
but
while.
I'm so glad to have you. I think that, I get sometimes people ask me, like, where's Dan? I'm like, yeah, he's still in New Mexico.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's just a thing.
Yeah,
So,
it's just a thing.
I'm just glad to have you on board for this. So, this one, Dan was able to enjoy the 2023 National this year. I did not go, but he and I stayed in touch while he was there. We were able to chat a little bit during the show, and I actually introduced him to a buddy of mine, my buddy Steven, and they met up, which was just so cool because I
Yeah.
wanted them to meet. Steven's a really good friend of mine here, and so he's kind of part of my crew now. But since Dan went to the National and I didn't go, um, I wanted to kind of get his take on the show and kind of how he experienced it, how it stacks up to previous nationals, and kind of just hear his thoughts on the whole experience. And so, Dan, why don't you open up the dialogue and just tell us how your experience went, just some of the memories and like just what you experienced in general, like how was the sneak peek night, how was the Sunday night, and everything in between. Take it away.
So the national. I mean, there's nothing like it. Good, bad. It's always fun, right? I mean, it's like fishing. It's beats a beats a day at work, regardless of the outcome. But this one was uniquely different. I really felt that I things had changed. It's the first one I've been at since 2019, and there was just so much was different. It's unless you've been to one, it's hard to kind of explain. But Pat, you and I went to I think the last one together was 2017, right?
I was at 2019.
Okay, then we were there together. But they actually opened up the showroom floor. It's doubled in size, and while we were there, it was really interesting because I always buy my tickets early. I always buy my hotel room or reserve my hotel room early, and this year things seemed to sell out really quick. So I managed to still get a good hotel within walking distance, and I got my VIP pass. But when we got there, we had learned that you know there was such a high demand for passes that even after they sold out VIP passes, they ended up creating a new pass, which I was unaware of, which was called the 5-day early entry pass. So it was
Hmm.
very similar to the VIP pass, but they didn't get the bonuses that come with the VIP pass, such as like what was inserted in the bags and so forth,
Okay.
right? So they didn't get the autograph tickets and that type of thing, but they did
Mm.
get the early entry. Um, one of the interesting things too was that I felt like it seemed like almost every table had nothing but graded cards, which I'm not opposed to, but I figured there would be some kind of mix and there would be like some graded, some not graded, but it was like boom, everything was graded, and then the price points were just astronomical. I mean, our buddy Mike, Mike, right? He and I were talking about how the average cost per card in a case was probably $1,500, and it almost seemed like everybody was trying to make their table money, like with every card sale. It was really interesting, but still just a lot of fun. I mean, tons of energy, amazing cards. So celebrity athletes walking around everywhere. Just a lot of fun, and there were some aspects of it that were still traditional. Top still had a great pack war thing and trivia stuff going on. Panini had their Rapper Redemption wrapped around the building. It was the traditional national, but with some new stuff.
Sounds all predictable. I was kind of looking at the feed of pictures people were taking at the national, posting them online, and what I was learning is exactly what you're saying, is that stuff was just priced way out of the side of reality, like way outside of reality.
Oh yeah, yeah.
One guy
I
was
mean,
asking, he had a PMG 98 bonds and he wanted $37,500. I'm like, man, if only we lived on a planet where someone's willing to pay that right now.
yeah,
It's too much. And it was like a 7.
yeah,
And I'm just like, well, we can all live on Fantasyland. That's fine.
yeah,
But we just can't expect to transact in reality on Fantasyland.
yeah.
And so
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I talked to several people, and the first few days of the show were pretty slow for them.
yeah.
But interestingly, our friend David, the LeBron collector,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
He was hugely active outside of the show, and apparently the deals and the actual money, or I should say, a lot of the actual money, was taking place outside of the show.
You mean like
So
in the side rooms or what?
so so um, so there's a hotel right down the street from the Rosemont called Lowe's,
Right.
and apparently they opened up some rooms, not like hotel rooms, like ballroom areas that people were able to go in and do trade night, and the trade nights were just as banging as the show. I mean, it was so crazy that I heard the hotel had to shut it down on the third night. They turned off the lights and kicked everybody out. Um,
Really?
yeah, and then to further that, the last day of the show, I spent probably an hour and a half in the lobby of the Rosemont Convention Center, just walking along the floor. If you went there, you would see people. They had just sat down on the floor and they spread their cards out. It kind of reminded me of Indian Market in Santa Fe. I mean, only you and I would probably understand that context, but
Right.
there it is, and people had stuff spread out, and they were trying to sell some things and work some deals. And I actually picked up a few cards from buyers who did not pay to be at the convention
That's too good, man.
on the
I
floor.
remember
But
I remember getting pics from people's experience. I think at the show last year at an
yeah,
AC,
yeah.
and they had trade night. It was this giant room with no tables or chairs, so people just laid all their cards on a dirty carpet. I'm like,
Yeah,
man, what
yeah.
what an experience! Like just roughnecking it.
But that's what it was like. I'm trying to actually find one of the pickups that I had. Uh, I bought it from a kid. I mean, he was like, you know, maybe 10, 12 years old, and for some reason I cannot find it at this moment. But
Sure. What was it?
but so it was a LeBron James red, white, and blue from 2022. What is known as the Kobe tribute card, right? Where he's doing it, it's the horizontal card where
Yes.
he's going for the slam,
Yeah.
right? And it was a really popular card last year, and this kid had the red, white, and blue version, which you can't get any more patriotic than that, right?
Right.
And oh, I
Wow.
found it! I found it! There
So
it
wait,
is.
that's the Kobe tribute card?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a lot of times what I've heard it called.
Really? Why is it called
Yeah.
that?
Well, because there's another card of Kobe doing that exact same
He
slam.
was great at those.
Oh, he was
He
fantastic
was
at them, right?
fantastic.
And so out of 2022, like a hugely produced year, right?
Yeah.
Um, this was one of the chase cards. Obviously, it's card number one in the set, and the base cards sell pretty well, and then all of the parallels do awesome. And so I was just walking along, and this kid spread out there, and he wanted $50. I made him an offer. He took it, and
Really?
yeah, yeah.
What is that? What would that card go for, like, in the current market? Like, is 50 considered a good deal for that
I,
card?
I I think 50 is exactly what is the comp for that. I
Okay.
hate using that word, but that's just what the hobby has created,
Right.
and so I would say 50 is a comp, and you know I'm looking for a deal. That's why I'm at the national,
Right.
right? And so I gave him an offer. It wasn't unreasonable,
Hmm.
and he was willing to take it. And so, he had to consult his dad, obviously.
So he was a younger
He was a
he was a
younger
younger
kid. He
kid.
was he was probably maybe between 10 and 12 years old.
What?
Um,
Really?
my son's age, yeah. But I mean, he was there. He had it set up, and he wanted to do business,
So
right?
you got it for less than 50.
Yeah, but not much less. You know,
Yeah,
you can't take advantage of the little kids. You know.
totally. Like they need to learn commerce and
Oh,
negotiation,
for
so you kind
sure,
of give them
for
that
sure.
opportunity to do
But
that.
but it was more of the spirit of the national outside than it was inside. You know, it really was different this year.
Yeah,
And I think the biggest takeaway was, I generally set a budget of what I'm bringing cash
of course.
wise,
Yeah.
and I probably came in at about a tenth of what it should have been.
You
So
so you brought a tenth of what your normal budget would have been,
no, I brought my normal budget,
and
and it was a tenth of what I would have needed to actually
you're
pick
kidding.
up.
That
No,
much? Wow.
oh, Pat,
Gosh.
like everything was outside of crazy, right? It
I
was
used to bring like admittedly my budgets at the National are they're quite small because of the way I collect. I don't buy
right,
super high end, so the stuff I buy is in a specific price range that is generally considered small by most. And
right,
so but that's okay because the stuff I like to buy is not super valuable because the stuff I'm still after is so rare. I'm not going to find it at the National. So I kind of just like deviate and play around in another playground that's somewhat considerably more affordable.
right.
But it sounds to me like had I brought that budget, even that one now, I wouldn't be able to play the game
No, no.
because I probably would have to bring like at least twice that just to have fun for one of the days.
I don't even think twice would have cut it,
You
Pat.
think like
Like I'm telling you, I probably should have brought between $15,000 and $20,000, and unfortunately, that's outside of what I can actually do by a lot,
I heard
right?
last year one guy I was asked the Dallas Card Show guys, I was asking one of the attendees, I was like, "Hey man, you go to the National?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, what may I ask your budget?" He's like, "I'm bringing 35K."
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't want to have $35,000 on me. It's
but
just a
that
huge
that's
liability. I don't want to do that.
but that's where we're at,
I
right?
know, it's
And
wild, man.
one of the things that I was talking to Mike about, this is his first national. He was completely overwhelmed,
Oh, he had not
right?
been to one
He had never
previously.
been to one before, right?
Really?
But one of the things I was telling him is like one of the aspects of business that I have always appreciated with companies is those that are willing to adapt to the current market and what's happening, right? I
Right.
don't ever, as a collector, want to become the Kodak of collecting.
Or
I don't want,
Blockbuster.
or the blockbuster. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to be um, removed because I refuse to change,
Right.
right? But this was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
The money is an issue, right? And I'd like to make every other national. Chicago's an amazing venue,
It really
and
is.
and and it has doubled in size. And I'm sure you saw the data that this was the largest
Biggest.
show attendance of
Yeah.
all time,
All
right?
time.
Of all time. And I think that's because logistically, hotel wise, restaurant wise, like all of these things exist within walking distance, right? But I don't want to be priced out every 2 years, right? I don't want to have to take a 4 year break before I have to go to the national because I have to save a huge sum of money, right? To go and
So
actually
funny.
and actually be part of the national. So I felt like kind of like a cheerleader on the sidelines, like yay, 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 right? While other people were buying stuff, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
Did you get
So
a chance to see any of the like the bargain bins? What did the
so
bargain bin situation look like this
so
year?
the bargain bins. So the bargains bins from you and I participating in 2019, that just doesn't exist anymore. Like,
Really?
yeah, you and I would find deals, right? You find in the dollar bin or the 50-cent bin or the 25-cent bin, you know, five, six, $10 cards.
Right.
Right? Everything is priced at what the eBay price is, right? So
Man,
yeah, I mean,
it's really
I
it's a
found
different
one
atmosphere.
guy. I found one guy that had some Aguirres, and he was like 25 cents a card, right? And there was like I want to say a half dozen 87 tops rookies in there, and I was like, man, for a quarter, I'm buying all of them, right?
Yeah,
I don't care
right.
what the condition is, I'm buying all of them. And then I started thinking, I'm like, you might as well just buy all of the McGuire cards,
Right.
because
Why as well? Is that cheap?
yeah, but why does he have them so cheap? Other than he just is trying to get rid of them. I mean, it literally was a rich man's game. It was really surprising.
Wait a minute. So you did buy all those McGuires?
Oh yeah, I bought
At
all of
that yeah, I would have too. So there wasn't like a hiccup, like you brought him up and he's like, oh, by the way, that's for a different price. Like that
them.
actually was
No.
legitimate.
He said 25 cents a piece. So I said I got like, I think I told him I got 15 cards here, and then he gave me the price, and I was like, boom, there we go. But he was the anomaly, right? Because I'd go to another table and the 87 McGuires would be $5, $6.
$5 for that card?
Oh
That's
yeah,
absurd, man.
absurd.
That card is $1 on its best day.
Absurd. I mean, unless it's graded a gem intent, it's 10. It's $1, right? And
Oh wait, I mean you could sell 9s and other grades, but a base card of that should never be priced at more than $1.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. That's my opinion.
I mean the 85 tops everywhere I went, it was priced $30, $40, $50.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean
$5 all day long. I started paying $8 for that recently, and I've paid one time $10 for that card.
Yeah.
Now that's not 1998 when they were selling raw for $250.
But at the National, that's the asking price, and that's where we're at, right? Like everything was priced at comps or above.
Well, the 85 Topps McGuire wouldn't comp out at $40 on a raw. It just wouldn't. It doesn't.
But it's comps or above. On that note, like the 89 Fleer Ripken Obscenity.
Yeah.
Every other table had one, and they wanted like between $100 and $150 for that
it's
card.
Not worth that.
Raw.
It's not worth it.
I know it's not worth that.
Maybe 20. I don't know what they're comping, but I don't think they've reached $100.
No,
yeah.
Right. I mean, you and I have been buying them. We bought them in 2017 for $4, right?
And so I'm seeing them as low as 20 on that card, which to me is still like absurd, like because there's so many of them that were made.
But they're not set up at the National.
That's true.
Like they're set up. These guys are set up at the National. They want to recover their table money on every transaction, right?
So a card that sells online, eBay, say it sells, a range from like 20 to 80, which is a really wide range for that card.
Right.
But let's just say it's a $20 sale on eBay. You go to the National, you see a table, a guy wants 150. What are you going to think to yourself?
Well, he's out of the market. You might offer him what is actually a comparable sale, but he's going to tell you to screw off. I'll send you the pictures so that you can include them in the video. But we have pictures of the sign where people are like, I don't care what your comps are. Like, this is what I'm selling it for. Right.
So here's the thing. We both know that during Pandy, there was the COVID spike, and then everybody was going insane online, spending all manner of money on whatever, everything.
It was sick.
And everything went through the roof. Now, the people who didn't sell when the market corrected the following 2 years are now into these things eons higher than they are currently worth.
They're
so
elbow
are we
deep
to believe now that some of the dealers at the National are trying to recoup their COVID losses?
100%. And I see that here in Albuquerque, right? You go to the mall show, and it's the same guys you've seen for the last 3 years. They haven't corrected their prices, and I'm sure the credit card bills are coming in, right? And they're trying to manage, and they don't want to take a loss. But at some point, you're going to have to like come to reality and say, okay, I bought at the peak of the market, and now the market has corrected itself. But the National market is its own beast. Like this is the thing. It's created its own beast, and here's hundreds of dealers that are trying to recoup what it costs just to be there.
Right.
And they're pricing everything to the moon, hoping that when we negotiate, it'll come back down or maybe a little bit above what the actual comps are.
You know what's wild about that is that, like, let's say you sunk all this cash into 2020, 2021 stuff, and you're upside down. It's the subprime housing crash of 2008, but in cards, it's the card crash of 2021.
Right.
So you're sitting on this inventory, and meanwhile you have business expenses coming in, mortgage and whatever, and so you're like, I need to make a sale. it would be wise to accept the loss, knowing that that's a one-time thing, hopefully, that you can just drive sales to get some money out of your inventory, even though you're going to come up at a loss, so you can gain some income to buy current market stuff
Correct.
to recover and correct your sales strategy.
Correct.
That would be the smart thing to do.
I mean, but Pat, I mean, how many people actually do the smart thing? Like stand at an intersection and watch what the smart thing is, right? And what
So
actually
intellect
happens.
is rare in that capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's interesting to think about, because usually people go to the National to peddle nice things. Obviously, I see some of the most amazing thing at the show, obviously,
amazing
but I also
things.
go for amazing deals, like the bargain bins and everything. All these incredible
100%.
deals I've had over the years.
100%. And it seemed that this National, there was less of that. It was a fraction of what was normally there.
Do you think that this will be a continued trend, that it's going to be more and more expensive to go and buy? Not go. I mean, housing and lodging and housing fees will remain relatively consistent over time, but that, like, purchasing power, do you think will be diminished over time?
So I think that when we look at what happened with the trade nights and what was going on in the lobby, I think the reality of what should happen will come back to what is normal. There's just no way. There's no way that those dealers are going to be able to charge what they're charging and actually recoup, right? When off-site there's a whole separate card show going on.
Yeah.
I mean, trade night was a whole separate card show. It would rival most towns, semi-annual card show.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, our buddy David was just saying it was crazy. The ATM machine was tapped out.
You're kidding.
Yeah. He said the ATM machine ran out of money, and we saw people at our hotel coming from the Lowe's to use the ATM at our hotel because the one there was tapped out.
That
right?
is wild, man.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where what we saw this year, it can't sustain. It can't sustain.
Do you think so? This would be residuals from the pandy spike.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of residuals from the panty spike, and I think the influx of new collectors, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
I love it, right? But they might be misguided as to how much money is there and what is actual real and what is not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I think that if I go, obviously I'm going to go again. I mean, that's a certainty. As long as I can
100%.
control it, I will go again. I love of the venues currently used, the Chicago is my favorite one. And to think that it's twice the size, I can't even imagine. I already know that when I was there last, they had opened up that extra room on the far end, so that red carpet.
Yeah.
And so, like, the visual peripheral, it narrows when you look all the way down from one end to the other. And that to me that's the biggest venue that exists right now for that show. But the other venues are big too. But I think, like, when I go again, that aside, I'm gonna have to prepare for this, because I can't walk in with 30K. Sorry.
No.
Even if I had the 30K to use, I'm not gonna walk around with 30K on me. It's a huge. No. That's terrible. So I'm gonna have to find a way to obviously change the scope budgetarily, but also be realistic about what I will and won't do at the National. I'm not going to buy a card for $30,000 at the National. So, okay, where does that leave me? If I'm also not going to buy Billy Ripken, Rick Face card for $150. Sorry, when I get them online for $20. And so these are questions I have to ponder. Like, I go to the National to hang out with friends, but also to buy really awesome stuff and get good deals. Now, if the deals don't exist, now why do we go to the National?
So this is where I'm at, and this is what I was talking with Mike about, and that is, we have to adapt.
Yeah.
We have to find those things that make it worth going and having fun, right? PSA had the same National, fun time where you go and get a card with you made on it, and they slap it and they give it to you, and you're gonna have fun. I had a really good time, and it's one of those things where like I did not go there with this expectation, right? But I had a great time with Gary V and his V Friends booth. Gary V was awesome.
Yeah.
He signed everything.
Yeah.
I bought some of his V Friends stuff. I traded in some of the stuff. They were giving these things,
Oh
right?
yes, right. Those are so
Yeah.
cool.
So I got it. I got it graded, right? I have another one because the two cards were stuck together when I was getting my packet, and
Yeah.
the girl was like whatever, and she just threw the both in. She didn't take the time to separate them, so I got two. I got one autographed, authenticated by PSA, right? And then I had one graded by CGC, which is a whole nother conversation, right, on grading and so forth. But I mean, you just have to adapt, and that's why we go to the national. We go to have
Absolutely.
fun,
I think
and
it's a
not
good.
just to spend money.
Yeah, so I was a rookie in 2012 in Baltimore, which I thought was an awesome venue, and we haven't had one at Baltimore since 2012. So I don't really know the details on why the Baltimore venue is no longer being utilized, even though I do know one of the board members. It's
Right.
just not a conversation we'd had to any specific degree. But I do know that of the venues currently being used, Chicago venue makes the most sense because it's so centrally located. It's near
100%.
hotels. There's food. It's like an Uber drive away from Kroger, so it just makes more sense. The Cleveland venue, great venue, but because of where it's located, it makes early arrivals and late departures difficult, and so not my favorite, but also not bad. It's still a fine venue to use. They took the carousel out of it, so it's
Yeah.
just this open space now. But yeah, we have to like change as the show changes. Now, does
Right.
that mean just bring more money? I hope not. I hope I can just find different ways to enjoy myself at the show. And if I can find something I still need for my collection, that's a win, even if it's a $40 purchase.
Yeah. Well, so this national was the first national that I've attended, and I've attended 7 now, that I felt like I did not purchase a lot. I had a good time,
Yeah.
blast, right? But there were several times that I had wished I had more money because there were some amazing cards, there were some amazing things, and I had to pass on them because I had to budget myself for 5 days.
Now,
So
of those things that you didn't buy, could they have been realistic purchases had you brought a little bit more?
yes.
What would you be able to
So
describe or discuss a couple of
so
them or one of them?
so I wanted a Holland rookie card from the
Uh-huh.
Bundesliga, right? Um, I only came across 3, all of them PSA 10s, and they were all priced about what was on eBay. I asked all the dealers, "Do you have one that's not PSA 10?" Trying because I just want one. It doesn't have to be a 10. It could be a 9. It could be an 8.
Right.
Right? Give me something that's affordable. But none of them had them. Everything was PSA 10. So I probably would have bought one if it had been a 9 or an 8 because the price was more reasonable. Not that they were priced outside of what is normal, but I mean, if I'm going to pay eBay prices, right, or if I'm not going to be able to negotiate, I mean, I might as well just go to eBay,
Right.
right? So I didn't end up purchasing one of those. I ran across a guy that had several signatures of celebrities and historical figures, as well as athletes, and he had a Dr. Seuss card. It was I want to say it was like a 4x6 that was priced very well. So just something historical and childhood favorite. And I would have liked to have bought that, but he wanted cash, and what he wanted would have put me into a hole really early on. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always pose the
So
question like if you go to the National and you're at sneak peek night, you have your pizza and your Pepsi and you enjoy yourself and you go into the show floor, the first table you see has exactly what you want and it requires all of your income that you
you're
brought to the
tapped out.
National. Do you
Yeah.
buy it or do you walk?
Yeah.
See, to me, I buy it. and just
Yeah.
take the rest of the show as an experience to like do video and recording and interviews and just be done with it. Because I'm there to get these cards.
Yeah.
I thought about this deeply for a while over the years, and I was like, well, what is the reason why I go to the show? To look for stuff I need. If the guy has what
Yeah.
I need and it's in my price range, and although it takes all my money, I think I would just do it.
So here's my rebuttal to that, right? What if it's not on your list, but you like look at it and you're in love with it?
Would it be a Frank Thomas card?
Well, doesn't matter what it is.
Well, the thing is,
It just doesn't
I
fit into
wouldn't.
what you're collecting, and yet, but it's unbelievable because I'm not a Dr. Seuss guy. I'm not going out actively looking for him, but that was one of those things where I was like, that is awesome, right? Likewise, he had a Walt Disney card,
Oh yeah,
or I'm sorry, it wasn't a card. It was a cut signature. It was phenomenal,
really.
right? Phenomenal. I may have been able to convince my wife that we could buy it, right? But at the same time, like, but we're done.
So
We're done
that would
on
have
day
taken
one.
your whole budget, one card, and that was what, day 2 or day 1?
Day one, or maybe it was day two. I don't remember for sure because I saw so many things. But like,
Really?
you paid to be there for so many days, and those things are going to consume all of your money, all of it. It's
So
going to,
there are certain things that I could admire without the need to own them. Like I'll always like the 86 Fleer Jordan, but I have no interest in owning the card. So like I'll always like the 52 Topps Mantle, but I'd rather have the 51 Bowman.
I'm with you on that, but
And so like I mean, they're just certain cards that I will always love forever, but I have no interest in owning them because even if I had the cash, like if I were to own them, they would just be to turn around later. They wouldn't be to keep for my PC. They would just be investment cards. But and those are the Jordan and the 52 Mantle, neither of which are rookie cards, by the way, are both really great cards, and they're both really great cards to have for any reason to sell later or just to keep. But I don't look for certain cards. I don't look at ever buying them. I just admire them at shows. There's just a lot of stuff that everybody's buying. It's like I talked about this before, that when everybody's zigging, I'm zagging. Like when everybody's buying one thing, I'm buying something else.
Yeah.
And that helps me stay focused and minimize competition among purchasing. But it also makes it difficult to find stuff I can buy because people will sell what other people are buying. And if most people are zigging and I'm zagging, it's going to be hard for me to find something that I want to put in my collection.
Right. I mean, you go to the National, you may not see anything. I mean,
It's true.
I went with some objectives. There's some sets that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Some of them are very recent, and some of them, from 2018.
So you're still doing the bazooka backs?
Still doing the bazooka backs. Found zero.
Right? Zero.
Zero. I did find bazooka backs, just none that I needed.
Yeah.
Right. And then I don't know if I've talked to you about it, but Panini did a collaboration with Monopoly.
Really?
Yeah. So there's these Monopoly basketball cards. I liked them. I love Monopoly, right? so I went and put some sets together, and I've been working on the silver set, as well as there's what's called the Black Icon parallel. One of the attributes of the set is that there's 30 or 40 different parallels, right? With
sounds like a Panini product.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's no autos in the set, right? But at least it's something that I thought was cool, innovative. Let's collaborate with Monopoly. And it was very hot earlier on in the year, right? Couldn't find any there. I would ask and ask and ask. I mean, maybe one out of every 30 tables I'd find something, and
really?
Most of it was graded, and it was one of the short printed, parallels, and LeBron James or Draymond Green. It just was what it was,
really?
Right? And I thought I would find it everywhere, and I didn't find any of it, right? However, in the lobby of the National, I found a couple of dealers who they had a bunch of it, right?
So there were Dealers in the lobby?
Yeah, they were just set up. Like I said, it's like Indian Market in Santa Fe.
So that like wrap around in the line that goes
They're,
through the hallway
yeah,
and
but
that whole area?
they weren't there legitimately. They just set up on the floor
Oh,
while people were exiting the show.
right.
So Pat, when you were last at the Chicago National, right? The showroom floor was set up like a half a horseshoe.
Yes.
This national was a whole horseshoe. So we had one exit in 2019, one entrance, one exit, and they were all on the hook of the bottom horseshoe.
Right.
So this year there were 3 exits. There was one on the hook where we always entered and exited. There was one right in the middle at the pavilion for the breakers, and there was one on the right side, right opposite of the one that we went to. That was the other half of the horseshoe. So legitimately, this show doubled in size.
Man, I can't even conceptualize that.
Yeah,
I just remember
it
the
was
big stairs in
crazy.
the front and then the lobby area leading into the like the line, the waiting in the line.
Yeah, and then we
Though
were in
those
that.
two entrances.
Yeah, but those 2 entrances were right next to each other.
Right.
That's still there, but there's something similar on the other side, and
Yeah.
then there was one right down the middle.
It's incredible.
It was incredible. It was incredible, right? Like when we were there, I was like, holy crap! There's a whole other side over here, Pat. There was a section in at the top of the horseshoe where there were so many people, I couldn't even get into the area. So there are parts of this show that I absolutely missed.
Wait a minute. So that area beyond the red carpet area?
Oh, that red carpet area that's on the far end, opposite
Yeah.
of the entrance,
Right.
is still there.
So
It,
when
it,
you
it,
say there's more to the show, how much more? Because I can only
so,
conceptualize that giant room with the red
so
carpet area.
conceptualize what it was in 2019
Yeah.
and multiply that by 2.
How did they get this? But where's the space?
They opened up the whole other half of the convention center.
There's another half
There's
that's that
another
same
half
size?
that's the same size.
Oh my gosh, man.
So
I'm
Pat,
like, I can't even. So we only saw half of that in 2019.
so if you were doing this show, you saw a quarter of it.
Dude, I can't even.
Yeah,
There's no way to do it all.
there's no way.
Even
There's
if
no
you
way.
like, even if you like missed and skipped a bunch of booths and just walked quickly, you wouldn't be able to do it.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
Man.
And factor in the attendance was astronomical. I mean, there were tables that I wanted to see, but there were people like up in my face.
It's crazy because usually there are fire codes that prevent that very thing. So that like if there's a fire, everybody can get out. But if you're so congested and concentrated with that many people, it becomes a huge problem for code.
Yeah, 100%. There was an
So how
ambulance
did
there every day.
were there
There's an
certain
ambulance there
tables
every
then?
day.
There were certain tables then you weren't able to get because people were so close to you.
I couldn't get to them because they were so close. So you wanted me to look for a card because there was a table that had it, right? I never
Yes.
saw that table.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to, but I figured I'd kick that over to you anyway
Yeah,
to see if
but
like if you run across it, let me know.
Pat, I was looking for it
You did. Okay.
and I could not find it.
But you didn't you weren't able to scale the whole show though.
No, no.
Did you
There,
how much of that show would you think you saw like that you wanted to see?
60%.
Even in the 5 days, four
In
and a half
five
days, it was
days,
60%.
60%.
Now, did you do what you and I usually do at these shows is serpentine the aisles?
Yes,
And you
yes,
still were only able to walk
yeah,
60% of that thing.
60% of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you how much of the other side that we didn't see or that's the first time that's available this year that you got to see?
So let's just say that half, I probably saw 70% because there were some corporate booths on that end.
Gotcha. Wow.
So like CGC was there, Tag Grading was there,
Yeah.
this Hero stuff was there. That was where the TriStar Autograph Pavilion was at, right?
Right.
PSA was right smack in the middle.
Okay, so those
right?
were the corporate booths, and that
Yeah,
side was mostly
but
corporate.
on the side that we normally see, it was Tops, Fanatics, Panini, Steel City, Blowout, Dave and
Gotcha.
Adams, right?
Well, those
Uh,
guys are usually on that side anyway. Well, of
yeah,
course, because this is
yeah,
the first time they had the other side.
right. And then there was also Wild Card Football. That's where Gary V Friends was at. Trying to think. I mean, there was a bunch. Heritage was on that side,
Really?
right? Yeah. So I mean, so the side that we normally, saw was predictable, right? But it was so big. I mean, there was so much that they had to open up the other side, right?
Man, it's amazing.
It's
Gosh,
amazing.
it's
I mean, I
amazing.
love it. I love it. It was
Yeah.
awesome, right? But at the same time, it was a little bit frustrating, right?
Part of me
And then
feels like this. They.
factor in that the air conditioning wasn't working,
I
you
heard that.
know. Yeah. Oh, it was miserable a couple of days, and people were pissed off. And I mean, they must have made a fortune on beer sales, right?
It's thinking about how big the show is now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering if it would make sense for the National to be a full week event from like Monday to Sunday. Because
I,
I don't, because people are already leaving work on Tuesday to get there on Wednesday. Like, what difference does it make to open it on Monday at that point? I mean, it's just another day, really.
yeah. So
And then that
so
way people can scale the whole show and they get a little bit more time and they can see the whole show. Now, granted, it's an entire week of a year. That's 152 of a year. That's kind of hard to do that for some people. I get that.
yeah.
But what do you think about that? Do you think that's something that could possibly be feasible?
I, I'm sure it's feasible, but I don't know if it's going to make money. I mean, people have other lives, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody there is a dealer that has a shop. Uh, but when you start looking at the money that's passed, right? It might actually. I mean, it's possible there are people there that made money that's more than their salary for the year, right?
Of course.
So I mean, it's hard to say, but
And because
I
the show's gotten so
yeah,
big, and I would I'd have to walk fast and skip a lot to see as much as
oh
I
yeah,
can see,
yeah,
and still be happy with it. But that would still require a lot of effort just to do that.
right.
And so, yeah, I look forward to attending a future show. That seems interesting just to be a part of that, even though it's like a lot of people everywhere and very close. It seems like it'd be a lot of fun for the week.
Oh, Pat, it's a blast. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, I want to continue to relive it over and over again. I'm
Yeah.
excited because my son is starting to get to the age where the next couple of shows that we attend, he may actually be able to attend, right?
Yeah,
And
because he's
and
9 now. Yeah.
he's 9, yeah, and he loves Pokemon, and there was a lot of Pokemon there,
Yeah.
right? And he loves sports, especially baseball, and obviously it's all there. Um, so I think it has changed, but it's still a must attend
Now, if you were to change one thing about the National, what would it be?
for me.
Yeah, if you had, let's say you're sitting on the board and you wanted to recommend a modification to something about the National, what would you do?
Never let the air conditioning fail. Never.
What about Wi-Fi? Is that something that they were charging for to get that?
I never used it. I have an unlimited plan, so I was
Hmm.
constantly using my Wi-Fi.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't even sign on in the hotel.
Okay.
Right. Um, for me, that was a non-issue, but the heat of what was happening. I mean, the actual temperature of the National was miserable. And
Yeah.
on the second day, so the sneak peek day was Wednesday, so Thursday, uh, it almost was every person I talked to was complaining about the temperature.
Interesting.
It
Huh.
was it was miserable. It was miserable.
You think like high 80s or what?
Oh no, I mean the outside temperature was in the 90s, and you add the
Yeah.
humidity into that. I mean, I imagine that the index pushed it into the hundreds. And
Right.
you've lived in, I mean, you live in Dallas now, so you know humidity, and you've lived in the desert of New Mexico. You know that when you go into the shade when it's dry, it's 10 to 20 degrees cooler,
Right.
right? But you go in the humidity, it doesn't matter if you're in the sun or not. It's miserable. I mean, I had sweat stains on my shirt, and I wasn't the only one.
Were you wearing gray? Because that one's always the one that shows the hardest, gray.
I don't even remember, but it was really bad, right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple guys here, he and I are like, exchanging sweat, and I'm just like, oh God, right? But at the same time, I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to the hotel and shower.
It's just part of the process, man. I
Part of the
honestly,
process.
like, I wouldn't have any problem with any of that. I'd be totally just accepting of all of it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's busy, people are around, it's hot, just it's part of the experience.
Well,
And just
it's universal. No one is exempt of that. Right?
everybody's impacted by it.
We're all impacted by it. So that in itself was, I mean, if I could change anything, that's what it would have been.
Probably the amount of attendees being there didn't help the situation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, more people means hotter, so like that's likely contributed to the heat, I would imagine, with everybody's body heat.
Yeah.
That's, and like I said, tolerable for me, but I can put up with most things, so like I'm okay with that, and I don't complain about it. I'm just like, it's just part of the process.
Yeah.
So if you were to like give somebody who has not been to the national a piece of advice that maybe we didn't cover on the show, what would it be? Maybe he's like a younger kid right out of college, he wants to go to a show. Obviously, he has to bring a lot of money, but what are some like non-obvious advice that you would give him?
So there's a lot of things that you can participate in that are free, that are fun, and may actually you could actually be rewarded monetarily, right? So I'm gonna dig through some stacks here real quick, see what I can find here. But for example, Topps had some Topps Now cards that they would give away, right? So I got a couple of them here. They limited these to 100 copies.
Really?
And as long as you showed up and you just stood in line, they would give them to you for free.
That's awesome.
Right? And these cards during the week of the national were fetching between, I'd say between $75 and $125 a card.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because there's only 100 of them.
Yeah.
So there were 4. I missed 2 of them because I was unaware that they were giving them. Gotcha. Right? But I did manage to catch the last 2. On top of that, at one point, Topps had Ozzie Smith signing autographs for free. You just had to line up, and he would sign them. I missed that, and I'm still beating myself in the head over that one.
Did you learn about that before it happened?
No.
Okay, so
but if I had done a little more research, had I gone to Topps and actually asked, I probably would have been able to find out for sure, because they have a whole list of events that they're doing for from sneak peek night until the last day on Sunday.
So one thing you would advise for new attendees is to seek out some of the free opportunities at the national.
Correct.
In addition to like stacking money.
Yeah. So like the wrapper redemptions, Panini has a great wrapper redemption, but it's so popular that the packs are watered down.
What do you mean watered down?
So I had seen several people online who were opening packs, and they would open 100 sleeves and not do very well. Like, so 100 packs, 1 sleeve, right? And just have a rough time as far as what was coming out of those. I mean, Pat, those Panini silver packs were selling for $40 at the show.
Really?
The top silver packs were selling for $50 or greater, right?
Really?
The gold silver packs from Panini, I'm sorry, the gold packs, not silver. The gold packs from Panini were selling for significantly more, and just the value wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're into opening the wax and getting what's coming out of them, I would say the wrapper redemptions were kind of a setback, but the free events kind of offset that, right?
It's interesting. I've never opened the silver packs, but I know I've been aware of how their popularity for years. So I'm familiar with the popularity of them.
And I mean, they're still fun. I opened some silver packs, had a great time doing it,
Yeah.
right? But my focus was I'm just going to buy what I want wax
Yeah.
wise at the show, and enjoy myself. And honestly, I actually spent more on non-sport wax than I did on sport wax.
Really? Did you
Yeah,
open any of that?
the non-sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great time, and on my Twitter I posted all of this, right?
Sure.
But we had a great time opening up Topps Chrome Star Wars.
Really?
So two of the 4 nights we spent there, Mike and I would buy a box of Topps Chrome Star Wars, open it in the hotel room, drink some beers, watch some Women's World Cup soccer.
Did you guys
It
get Giordano's while you were there?
Oh, of course we did. Of course we did.
I love it, man. Thanks for sharing. I'm
Yeah.
glad we got a chance to connect and we discussed the 2023 National. So,
So,
Danny, you have any final thoughts?
yeah, I want to show off some stuff.
Okay, show off some stuff.
So I put some things aside. So I already showed you the LeBron,
Yeah.
right? So I picked up these dog cards, right? They're from the from the from the 50s, and they're just cool dogs, right?
I love dogs. It's awesome.
Who doesn't love dogs, right? I have one that runs around. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm buying those cards, right? So I also, true story here, went to the Topps booth when they were doing Pack Wars on the last day, right? And they had trivia before the Pack Wars started, and they gave me a card or a pack of cards. It was a hobby box, and it was Series 2 Topps, right? I got one pack because I answered the question correctly. I could, for the life of me, couldn't remember what the question was, right? and I got this this Wade Boggs auto.
Awesome.
Out of that one pack.
That's
number
awesome.
25, right?
I love it.
Can't ask for anything better than that. I mean, one pack, and I pulled the Wade Boggs auto, right? But I did knock off one of my huge wants, and that was Ozzy Osbourne auto.
Yeah, really cool. And
Yeah.
that one, it looks pretty legible.
Yes.
That would have been an older autograph.
So me, I really want it to be standard size.
Yeah.
Right. But he has only signed, from what I understand, one product standard size, and they're pretty limited. And it was about 2.5 times what I paid for this one.
Gotcha.
Right. So I'm taking this as a win, because I just think it's amazing. And I got a good deal for it. These are numbered. This one's numbered 12 of 40.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it just was a really cool thing. And then I also picked up this.
That is a great card to have. And
right?
that slab works really well with that card, because the card is white
Beautiful.
cardstock on a black frame, so it's really nice.
It's beautiful.
It
and
really
so
is.
I was super excited to find that at a discount. I don't think I underpaid for it, but I don't think I overpaid for it. So it was just about right. And that was good, because most people wanted me to pay over for that. So it was really just a good time.
Now, was that a serendipitous buy or a specific buy?
It was a serendipitous buy.
Gotcha.
But it was one of those that I had kind of had my eye on, and was like, well, if I find the right price, I'll buy it.
Now, are you going to go back with those and try to get the 89 and the 88 and the 87?
So I have an 89 already out for grading.
Okay.
And I have an 88 already out for grading.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that those will come back reasonably well.
Okay.
The 87, it's going to be a tough one, because the price on those has come up quite a bit.
I remember when 8s could be had for like $400.
Yeah.
It's in the background now.
It's in the background now. Life has changed.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Dan. I'm glad you got some stuff to put in the archive. Now, is any of that stuff going to be just for sale, or is it all PC?
So, Pat, I think at this point you figured me out, and
I'm all PC mostly.
yeah, I don't sell much of anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I have an eBay store, but it's just parallels and comments from most recent things. Like
Right.
if at any point any of it becomes something I'm interested, I pull it down and put it in the box. Right. The ongoing joke with the wife is, guess how much this is worth?
Nothing.
Her response is nothing, because you don't sell it. Right.
I love it. Dan, so great to have you on board tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Not a problem, Pat.
Thank you for tuning in to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Reno, and until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this content, please subscribe. Thanks. Enjoy collecting.